Welcome to The Fight on Matrix Midwest with Randy Carricker and company.
Hi kids, welcome to the program. Great to have you with us. That is Andrew Rogers. I'm Randy Carricker, and Cardinals are finally going to play some NL Central teams.
It's about time.
Looking forward to that. They head into a key portion of their schedule. We have a brand new winner of a major golf tournament, and we're going to bring you the toughest people in sports. But first, we're going to get things started with your quick hits, and they are sponsored by St. Luke's. And how about that Tarps Off crew? They made their debut over the weekend at Busch Stadium. The baseball team from Stephen F. Austin's club that was competing in the National Club Baseball World Series in Alton. They went to the game Friday and in the 8th inning decided to go up to the upper deck in right field, take off their shirts and wave them like a rally towel. And it turned into a thing. On Sunday, even after the Stephen F. Austin kids had left, a group of St. Louis kids kept it going, and hopefully that'll keep up throughout the summer. An amazing scene on Saturday when Ollie Marmol brought the kids from Stephen F. Austin into the Cardinal clubhouse, and they had an opportunity to bond. It was something that we haven't seen in St. Louis. The players got a huge kick out of it. Obviously, the fans did, and those kids from Stephen F. Austin, the Tarps Off crew, and maybe it's a new thing in St. Louis.
Well, you mentioned kids, right? The Cardinals themselves are kids at heart, and so they relate very well to what they're seeing up in the upper decks. They want to have fun. They're having a lot of fun on the field, and winning creates a fun culture. Plus, we live in a social media world where everything goes viral. Moments like this are great for Cardinals baseball. One, because this is a thing that fans across baseball will now want to travel to St. Louis to experience what's happening. They may not want to be a part of it, or some might want to go up there and take their shirt off, but others will just want to go to the game and experience the fun culture of Cardinal baseball.
Which we haven't had in St. Louis in the past. And I think that's one of the cool things about this is that the ability to ingratiate young kids, to get young people to cultivate a young fan base is really important in all levels of entertainment, and the Cardinals are doing that. They did that this weekend with that group of kids.
And good on Cardinals fans for repaying SFA baseball by going to watch them play in Alton. Their crowd, they said they're used to only having 10 people in the seats, and there were plenty of Cardinal red showing in the bleachers.
Meanwhile, after taking 2 of 3 from the Royals, the Cardinals host Pittsburgh, then go to Cincinnati and Milwaukee before hosting the Cubs. This will be fun baseball. The Cardinals right now have only played 6 games against Central teams, 4-0 against the Pirates, 1-1 against the Brewers. They had a rain out. First things first, even though the Cardinals beat Paul Skeens all the time anyway, he pitched against the Phillies on Sunday, and the Cardinals won't see him. They do get Mitch Keller on Tuesday, Carmen Mlodzinski on Wednesday, and then Brandon Ashcraft on Thursday. Our friend Bernie Miklas points out, by the way, on STL Sports Central, that before now, the last time the Cardinals were 9+ games over 500 through the first 45 games of the year was 2015. That team won 100 games.
Yeah, and I hope that's not Cardinal fans' expectations this season. But until this team proves to you that they won't win baseball games, I guess you can, keep your ceiling high. In general here, the Pirates series is great because you don't have to see Bubba Chandler either. And although Paul Skeens got beat up in his last start, I didn't want to see him based on the 8 starts that came before that one. But as you look at that team, offensively, the Pirates are in good shape. They have the 3rd best run differential in the NL Central. The Cardinals with the fourth best there. But the difference for me is the Cards continue to execute. They executed like Pozo did with a walk-off hit coming off the bench. They executed like McGreevy did out in Sacramento when he gives up a leadoff home run, and then he comes right back and delivers pitch after pitch and goes 6 innings. The Cardinals are executing, and that's how they're winning games.
Saturday, a perfect example, right? 2 runs score on groundouts, another on a sac fly, an RBI single. They didn't need a home run to score 4 runs and win at that game. By the way, the Cardinals starting pitching has been great. Top 10 in Major League Baseball. Over the weekend, after a heartbreaking draw in MLS play for City, they'll try to advance in the U.S. Open Cup Tuesday at Energizer Park when they take on Houston. Should City play to win? That's the question. Seems like where they are in the MLS standings, that winning that cup might be the best thing they can accomplish this season.
Well, I'll start by saying that more fans that you talk to will probably want to win this cup more than they want to win the MLS Cup at the very end of the year. This is one of the most historic cups in all of soccer. It's the oldest competition in soccer, and that's what means more to soccer fans out there. There's more teams. You get, some of the smaller programs. You get the MLS programs. You get single elimination tournament play versus what you see in the MLS playoffs. This is something that means more to more people, I think, than the MLS.
Yohan DeMay, play your guys. You aren't going to go far in the MLS, even if you would miraculously make the playoffs. And by the way, St. Louis is 14th out of 15 teams in the West. Even if they make the playoffs, they aren't going very far. The opportunity in 2026 for the St. Louis City SC outfit to go far is in the Cup. So do everything you can to win the Cup. Don't sit, guys. Don't play City 2, guys. Play your team against Houston on Tuesday night. Meanwhile, the Battlehawks couldn't rally in a loss to Houston, but they get a quick chance playing at Houston next Sunday in Week 9. Battlehawks seemed to be in great playoff position before last weekend, but they need a win next week to be comfortable.
Well, they had 2 possessions early in this football game that only ended in field goals. Those red zone opportunities have to end in touchdowns like that to Tyler Neville, who, by the way, his toughness is just something to get excited about. He could have easily walked into the end zone, but instead he decided to body up a corner for Houston. And then you have a play like this where I don't know how many quarterbacks in the UFL outside of here in St. Louis would make the mistake that Luis Perez made here. So it's a learning lesson for this group, and they should not lose to a Houston team favored by 7 points.
And Perez has been playing long enough in the UFL that he should, XFL, whatever the iteration was, he's played 6 years of spring football. He should know better at this point. At the PGA Championship, Aaron Rai of Wolverhampton, England, arrived on the radar of golf fans with a sensational Sunday at the PGA. After finishing 48th in the Masters, he held off a leaderboard that included Jon Rahm, Justin Thomas, and Rory McIlroy to win his first major. The dagger, a 68-foot birdie putt on 17, was the one that really won it for him. The next major, the U.S. Open at Shinnecock, the weekend of June 18th. And I'm excited to see Aaron Rai again. I really liked watching that victory. And he appears to be not only a great golfer, but according to everybody on the tour, a great guy, too.
And that's where I was going with my point. Rai is somebody you cheer for. When you hear guys like Rory and Xander Schauffele say, if there's anybody that's going to win outside of them, they want it to be Aaron Rai because of how good of a person he is. And also, he's kind of like that silent warrior. He puts in the work when he doesn't have the camera on him, and he earned this championship. So excited for a guy like him. I'm also excited to see Oberg again, because this is somebody that finished 4th in this tournament, and I think him winning a major is right around the corner. He finished 2nd in the Masters, I believe, in 2024, and now he's just been on the cusp, but he hasn't been able to get over that hump. Curious to see when his time comes. He's only 26.
Here's a crazy question for you. Scottie Scheffler hasn't won since the first tournament of the year in January. Even after finishing 2nd in 3 consecutive tournaments, he finished 14th. He finished 7 shots off the pace, but he didn't hit any putts. Should Scottie be concerned, or should we be concerned about him?
I don't know. He's still Scottie Scheffler at the end of the day. He was still finishing in 2nd place in 3 straight tournaments. I think the starts are something that we need to start talking about more and more now, because at first it was like, oh, well, he still finishes up there at the top. He needs to start stronger to keep himself in top position.
But he was tied for the lead after round 1 of this tournament.
And you're right. That is true. This time around, it worked for him, and then it kind of fell off in the end. So he's still Scottie Scheffler. Until I see a full year of Scottie looking like he does right now, I won't be concerned.
How about this? SLU and Mizzou are going to play a 3-game basketball series starting on November 6th of this year at Enterprise Center. These two haven't played since 2001. Back in the day, in December of 1999, they played before almost 26,000 at the Dome, Charlie Spoonhour and Norm Stewart. With the additions both teams have made in the transfer portal, and especially for Mizzou with freshmen this offseason, this should be a great game, and the crowd should be electric. And these two coaches, they make it fun. They're newfangled coaches with Dennis Gates at Mizzou and Josh Schertz at SLU. I think this is a natural matchup that I can't wait to see.
I think we spoke this into existence. We were talking about this during the college basketball season. Why not? That's all we kept saying is, why not have this? Can you imagine the revenue that could come, the publicity that both programs could get by matching each other up based on how we know SLU is is today. That program is thriving. Mizzou basketball is also thriving, and that just goes back to recruiting at the end of the day. These are two programs that if they face off against one another like we're going to see, imagine what that does for in-state recruiting. Imagine what that does for growing the popularity of the sport here in Missouri. This is a good idea all around, and I don't care what anybody says, because there's a lot of people out there that say this is the only thing Mizzou can get out of this is downside. The only thing that SLU can get out of this is upside. I have a question. Did you watch college basketball this season?
Yeah.
SLU was the better team.
Well, and what do we always say about college sports? Follow the money, right? They're going to have more than 20,000. They're going to get a TV deal. They're going to make a ton of money off of these two teams playing against each other. This will wind up on ESPN or ESPN2, and they'll have high-priced tickets that sell out, and ultimately that money will be able to be used on players, because with revenue sharing, that's what they're going to have to do. Those are your quick hits, and they're sponsored by St. Luke's, where they have top-notch doctors in everything from heart health to orthopedics and more. Visit stlukes-stl.com today. Later in the show, we're going to put together a little parlay for you. I've got a good one. Do you have a good one?
Oh, I'm ready.
So we've got a winner, so stick around for that near the end of the show. But coming up, Cardinal broadcaster Stephen Carey joins us here in The Fight. Always good to talk some baseball with our Fight teammate and Cardinal broadcaster Stephen Carey, who is going to join us. There he is right there. Stephen, how you doing?
Doing great. A little bit jet lagged after yesterday, but I'm glad to be back in the central time zone, God's time zone, as some might call it, where the sun goes down at an appropriate time and burritos don't cost me $19. So I'm very, very excited to be back here in St. Louis, and especially with the team playing so well. It's so good to see you guys.
Hey, Stephen, what did you think of the weekend with the Tarps Off crew at the ballpark?
I loved it. I loved everything about it, and it's showing the buy-in that these fans have been clamoring for. We've talked about it ad nauseum on this show, Randy. The team needed to show the fans that it was worth coming back out to the ballpark. And I think we're starting to see the beginning of that. The Tarps Off crew showed that it can still be fun to come to Busch Stadium to support a young, energetic team. And I think the team really rallied behind that. The only thing I was disappointed on was I've been going to the gym. I would have loved to have been out there and shown off my pecs. The tan's working is something that needs to be worked on a little bit, but I would have loved to be out there with those guys and getting rowdy.
You would have fit right in. You would have been perfect.
Hey, I didn't know
certainly the right age demographic.
Definitely,
Right.
definitely.
I didn't know you were a poet, though. From pasty to sunburned to ripped or flabby, the right field section is not too shabby. That's pretty good work. But try this one on for size. Free tickets from Ollie and an SFA meet and greet. That warm and fuzzy sports feeling will never be beat.
Is that that's not a haiku, that's not a limerick, but I really appreciate it. I love it. Let's get more poetry. Let's make poetry mainstream. It's more of a Henry David Thoreau guy, you know, Walden, went to the woods so I would learn to live life deliberately, things of that nature. You could go to Tennyson, oh, Captain, my Captain. But there are so many things that we could go with this, but it was just fun to get in on all of the chaos. That was the best part about it for me, especially being from afar, is taking advantage of something that isn't being done in baseball. It's being done in sports, and sure, there are going to be people that are grouchy and think it's gimmicky, but this sport is supposed to be fun. This game is supposed to be fun, and the fans should be representative of the team that plays in front of them. And I think that was certainly the case this past weekend. You see the fans, they're excited for Cardinals baseball. They love the style of play. And this is how you reward a team that has gone out there and fought hard in the early goings of a season. You go and support.
All right, Stephen, you've clearly taken more classes in poetry and paid more attention in those classes than I ever have. Where did that knowledge of poetry come from?
I think in high school, there was a big focus on poetry and prose for all of us. In the classes that I was taking, I always have been enamored with the English language. I think it's our best weapon that all of us have the ability to learn and to wield it, especially in our job. There are words that you can use. There are phrases you can turn. There are things that you can call back to. Double entendres, things that have more than one meaning are always great. But it's a poetry could be anything. You could consider what my dad and Brad Thompson do poetry. It's this sort of amorphous thing that can't be put into a box. So there are opportunities to put poetry everywhere, and for me, getting to put my own little unique spin on that situation, and people seem to really like it, was a lot of fun. I also love the movie Dead Poets Society, so that helps. Robin Williams is just unbelievable.
I have learned over the last several years to listen very closely to your dad. When you talk about double entendres, your dad is the king of those.
If not him, Brad Thompson is certainly.
Yeah, definitely.
Some of them have like 15-year-old boy meanings. Some of them are really, really advanced. But that's what makes it fun. Is for the 5 people who get it, there's a joy in the booth for them to say, hey, we thought of that. That's pretty cool. And there's the joy for the 5 people who get it to say, wow, I was smart enough to pick up on that. It's great.
All right, let's talk some baseball. The Cardinals have won or split their last 6 series. How important do you think that's been?
It's been hugely important, especially when you look at how competitive the division's been. The Cubs just aren't losing. The Brewers certainly aren't losing, but they all seem to be winning and losing on the same day. So this stretch of games coming up against divisional foes is going to be very telling. You have the Reds, or the Pirates, then you have the Reds, then you have the Brewers, then you have the Cubs. This is a stretch where you can really see where they are within the division. And I think that they're playing good enough ball. Their starting pitching has been stellar. I mean, they're posting something close to like a 3 ERA over the last 18 games. The bullpen hasn't been much worse than that either. And the offense has been great, outside of course, yesterday where they were shut out. But I think that these games are really important. It's important to see the teams that you're going to have to play down the stretch in order to make it to the postseason. And even then, you never know how it's going to go. The postseason is such a taboo word when you're in a rebuild, but this doesn't feel like a rebuild. And I don't want to get caught up in the mindset that it isn't, because when you get caught up in that mindset is when you go right back to where the Cardinals were the last few seasons. This is really fun, and we should enjoy it for all that it's worth.
What's been pleasantly surprising to you over the first quarter and some change?
Well, what hasn't been pleasantly surprising might be a better question. Jordan Walker has been sensational. The emergence of Nathan Church, who, if you've seen him in the minor leagues, was somewhat expected, but the ability to look at a bench that didn't feel that deep coming out of the spring now feels like a very deep bench. You can turn to Fermin to get a hit in the clutch. You certainly can turn to Pozo. Gorman is starting to turn things around a little bit offensively. He's played great defense. The starting rotation has been better than advertised. The bullpen, after a shaky start, has been very good. So, I mean, this is a pretty close to complete team in terms of what they expected. It isn't like you're looking around and saying, all right, there's 7 gigantic holes that we need to fill. There are 2, maybe 3, but the core that you wanted to be able to carry this organization forward is doing just that. And I'm talking about Weatherholt, talking about Walker, Herrera, Burleson. Those 4 guys can keep you afloat. McGreevy as a starting pitcher. You asked me a few weeks ago, who's the ace of the rotation? I said Michael McGreevy, and he continues to pitch like it. So it's just such a fun season. There are so many things that we could point to, but really just I think everybody in that clubhouse expected to be great. I think everybody expected to play very well, but they have won games in the most surprising and somewhat miraculous of ways, and that's what keeps people coming to the ballpark. That's what keeps people watching the games every single night, and we're really lucky to be a part of it.
Stephen, you've referenced the starting pitching a couple of times here. They're 10th in baseball in ERA at 3.88 as we speak. Based on what you've seen, how sustainable is that with this group that has Liberatore, McGreevy, May, Palante, Leahy? Can they keep it up?
I think so. I mean, again, I think that sustainability is always something you're going to worry about, but the Cardinals have kept pitchers healthier than any team in the league over the last 2 seasons. They have been able to get their pitchers to pitch more innings outside of course, Kyle Leahy coming in. You don't know how deep he's going to be able to go into the season because this will be the most innings that he's pitched. But remember, the starters go 1 game a week. They go once every 5 days or once every 5 games. That is something that is really important because you have a lot of time to shake off your last start. We haven't seen guys really snowball off of bad starts this season at all, outside of Dustin May through his first 2 or 3. And they've been able to put a cap on it. Even bad starts that we would consider bad, those 5-inning, 4-run starts, those are sort of average starts for a starter nowadays. So if anything, they've been average to above average in every single game. And the offense has come out to play. Remember when people said, where are they going to score? Where's the power going to come from? Well, I think that narrative doesn't really exist as much. This team can score, they can play, they can hit with the best of them, and they don't care who's lined up across the chalk the other way.
Ollie Marmol has never been the most well-liked individual by fans in St. Louis. Just think back to when Yadi and Pujols' names were on the manager market. How much credit, though, does he deserve for what we're seeing in the results department?
Yeah, and I'm really glad you brought this up. The reason Ollie has never been the most well-liked individual by fans is because they've been wrong. And that's just plain and simple. They've not been correct about Ollie Marmol's managerial ability. He is cerebral. He knows how to manage a bullpen. He knows how to keep a team healthy. He pushes the right buttons, and he thinks about the long-term goal over the short term. It gets really, really hard to be a manager in his position in a lot of these games where you could sacrifice the next 3 games to win 1. But why would you why would you do that? Why would you go and bring a guy in on short rest when you know you've got some winnable games coming up and you need to sustain that health? There's a reason why this team is 8 games above 500. It's because of Ollie Marmol and the staff and the culture that they're building there. I tweeted it the other night. That game with Pozo walking it off was the Ollie Marmol legacy game. To go from, let me see if I remember this right, to go from Stanek to Romero to O'Brien a tie game, when you may have thought, okay, if somebody else can keep this at a tie, we could bring O'Brien to try and get the shutdown inning in the 10th. Then to trust Stanek, then to trust Graceffo. That's amazing. There's picking all the right guys and allowing 1 run over those stretch of innings against a team in Kansas City that had all the momentum. That's a feel thing. And that's something that Ollie Marmol has that some managers don't have. And we're really lucky to have the guy that we have that's in that dugout managing those players.
Stefan, there's not as many guys now that look across the diamond and see the birds on the bat and say, dang, we got to play the Cardinals. But I think there's enough of those guys that see this team rebounding and say, okay, looks like it's going to be the same old Cardinals. And especially in the division, you mentioned this stretch earlier. I don't think that this will make a big dent in who's going to win the division these next 12 games. But I do think the Cardinals can kind of reestablish themselves as a threat in the division in these next 12. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, they're a game and a half out of first place. I don't know what more they can do to not just reestablish, but to establish themselves in 2026. They've been playing a brand of baseball that is good enough to make teams worry. Look at the teams that they've beat in series. They were 1 pitch away from taking 3 out of 4 in front of 40+ thousand every single day in San Diego against one of the best teams in baseball. They took 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers. They've taken games against teams that are traditionally some of the best in baseball. Took 2 out of 3 from the Rays. We all know how good they have been. They're beating good teams, and they don't care who they're playing. They don't care if it's the Dodgers. They don't care if it's Murderers Row and the Yankees. They're going to go out and play good baseball, and they can win in a variety of ways. They can small ball you to death. They can hit for power. They can let the middle of the order work. They can be frisky and get on base via the walk or the hit by pitch, which certainly we've seen a whole lot of. This is a Cardinals team that is chaotic, and that chaos is going to concern other teams because you can't game plan for a team like this. You can't game plan for them on a nightly basis. They find new ways to win. They never say die. My dad says it so many times. They may not always give you a start, but they're going to give you a finish because they just don't care. They're going to try to win every single night.
Stefan, when this group is labeled as no longer in a rebuild, do you think they can contend in the Central like the teams we remember from 2000 to 2015?
Well, I want to answer the first part of that. I don't think anybody should think this group is not in a rebuild because they are still far away from the long-term goal, which is winning World Series consistently, not just winning 1. They want to win 4. They want to win 5. Every team's trying to build a dynasty. And we have to keep that in mind. All early success aside, this team does have some holes, and we need to be aware of that. That doesn't mean we can't enjoy what they're doing. I think with what Chaim Bloom is doing and the plan that they have and the ability to stick to that plan we need to also be aware that this team could be good for years to come. We don't need to look at year one and put all the pressure on this group to say you need to win the World Series or it's a bust. That would be so irrational, so incredibly wrong and unfair to do, considering what the notions were coming into this season. They will have the ability to be one of the big teams in the Central. You look around, the Cubs are spending a lot of money. They're paying a lot of contracts. The Brewers are there every single year. They've got a lot of prospects waiting. They've got great pitching. The Pirates are finally deciding they're going to spend money and address some things. The Reds are another exciting team in the division. They're going to be better because they'll have to be better. And that iron sharpening iron, the Cardinals have the history to understand that this has been their division for a long, long time. They have the history, they have the culture inside the walls of Busch Stadium to propel these young guys to where they need to go.
All right, finally, my man, we got to go back to last week in Sacramento. You got a chance to do the Cardinals-A's games with your twin brother, Chris. What was that like?
It was sensational. To thank all the people that were involved in that. I mean, John Fisher with the A's, it was his idea to put us on, and he has been, nothing but great to us. And, everything else, all the politics of that aside, he had an idea, the A's had an idea, the production crew had an idea, and they did something that's never been done before. For us, it was something we always dreamt of, from doing our games in Amarillo to calling games at Georgia Gwinnett College in Lawrenceville, Georgia, on weekdays while we were studying at UGA. I think we always figured that somebody would take a chance. I don't think we imagined it would be this early in our careers, but this was one of those anchor points in our life that we're going to be able to harken back to when we have kids on our deathbed, and just remember getting to do that and the people that made it possible. Also, I'd feel remiss if I didn't thank the Cardinals for allowing this to happen, too. It was a bit of an awkward situation. I felt a little bit like a defector to the fans because I was told, you got to not be excited for the Cardinals. It came out a couple of times when guys were rounding the bases, secretly rooting for the Redbirds, but having to be a pro and call the game for the fans in Sacramento. But it was sensational, and in a roundabout way, I can't thank everybody enough for their support and for being there for me and letting Chris and I accomplish a lifelong dream at the ripe old age of 26.
That's awesome. And not only do you remember it, but to have it chronicled on audio and video for your kids and your grandkids to be able to see and say, hey, we were the first guys ever to be able to do this. That's pretty cool, too. It's not something that is going to go away, because it's always going to be in history on audio and video.
Well, it's going to be exciting to show them that. And it's going to be great to show my kids as I'm trying to teach them about baseball, the great baseball mind that is Dallas Braden. He was one heck of an analyst. He provides so much insight into the game. And it wasn't easy to do his job. It wasn't easy for the producer, Delaire Lewis, to work a three-man booth with two play-by-play guys. But they navigated it so beautifully. Total pros. My brother was the maestro of it all. He has such great chemistry with Dallas. He knew when to put the palm up and say, hey, don't talk. When to use that nonverbal communication that we had in Amarillo to make sure that we weren't stumbling over each other, and had a smooth broadcast for not one, not two, but 3 games. And I can confidently say that in experiencing that, there aren't a lot of people who would have been able to pull that off. So credit to everybody involved for making that happen.
Congratulations, and we're looking forward to Cardinal Nation getting a chance to hear Stephen Carey doing some Cardinal games too. It's always good to see you. Thanks so much for your time. We do appreciate it, and we'll do it again soon.
Brandy, Andrew, thank you guys so much. And no more fighting. This is celebration time, all right? No more fighting. We're 8 games above 500, looking for more. And I can't wait to see you guys at the ballpark or back here on The Fight.
Yeah, we'll see you soon.
See you, buddy.
Thanks. That is Stephen Carey joining us here in The Fight. Coming up, we've got the list. We've got the toughest guys in sports coming your way on Matrix Midwest. It's now time for the list, and the New York Mets will be without Clay Holmes for a long time, in the words of manager Carlos Mendoza, after the right-hander suffered a fractured fibula during the Mets' 5-2 loss to the Yankees on Friday. Kind of like Bob Gibson back in the day, Holmes sustained the injury in the 4th inning when he was struck on the lower leg by a 111.1 mile-an-hour comebacker off the bat of Spencer Jones. Holmes stayed in, and even going as far as to jog after the ball before receiving, receiving a visit from Mendoza. And the trainer, he did pitch a couple of more warm-up pitches and then finally came out. So today's list is the most impressive shows of toughness ever in sports, and I'm not being very tough here.
No, you're toughening that out.
Yeah.
That's tough to get through.
So I will start with an NFL player. Jack Youngblood of the Los Angeles Rams played with a broken leg in a first-round playoff game against the Cowboys in 1979. Youngblood got caught between two Cowboys blockers and snapped his leg. Ow! That hurt. Well, he said that he could still play. As a matter of fact, he told the trainers he had to get taped up and he wanted to get back out there.
I said, you need to tape this thing up. This is Dallas. He gets the pictures back about that time. He says, see here, it's broke right there. I go, well, I understand that. I said, tape it up. I can still go play.
And he did. He played the rest of the game against the Cowboys with a broken leg. Then the next week played every snap against Tampa Bay in the NFC Championship game on that same broken leg. The Rams would go to the Super Bowl and Youngblood would play well against the Steelers, but LA would lose that game and wouldn't win a Super Bowl until they came to St. Louis. But Jack Youngblood playing 3 games on a broken leg, one of the toughest guys ever.
How do you do that in football, of all sports?
Unbelievable.
I mean, you're taking contact play after play. He was still rushing the quarterback as if he was 100%. I saw the quarterback then roll over that same leg, and he still just gets up and he's ready for the next one.
Amazing.
I don't know how many drugs need to be pumped into my system, Randy, in order not to feel that.
Yeah, just tape it up and let me go play.
Holy cow. All right, my number 3. Kirk Gibson's pinch hit walk-off homer in Game 1 of the 1988 World Series is remembered as one of the most dramatic and determined moments in sports history. Gibby wasn't even expected to appear in the game as he was battling serious injuries to both legs and had spent much of the night getting treatment in the trainer's room. Down 4-3, bottom of the 9th, 2 outs and a runner on first. He was called to face Dennis Eckersley and immediately worked the count full, despite being clearly in pain during that entire at-bat. And then that famous swing that you just saw is one of the most famous in baseball history. He launched a 2-run game-winning homer into the right field seats. Then he hobbled around the bases, pumped his fists in disbelief, and it turned out to be his only at-bat of the series. But the moment became a defining spark that helped fuel the Dodgers' eventual championship run.
I don't believe what I just saw.
I don't believe what I just saw.
One of the great calls in baseball history as well. All right, my number 2 is Larry Wilson, one of the toughest sons of guns ever to play sports. St. Louis Cardinals Hall of Famer Larry Wilson famously intercepted a pass on November 7th, 1965, while wearing casts on both of his fractured hands. Playing against the Steelers, Wilson trapped a pass from quarterback Bill Nelson against his chest, and he was able to return it. Wilson was known for playing hurt, but this performance took the cake. He was amazing, and think about this. How do you do this? He couldn't bend his fingers, but he still traps it against his chest and then gives us a return as well. Unbelievable. Larry Wilson, one of the toughest ever to play the game.
Okay, that is what they teach you not to do in Pee Wee football, is catch the ball against your chest.
Unless you have broken hands.
Unless you have 2 broken hands, right? And then you also make big plays at the NFL level. Wow, Larry Wilson, that is a form of toughness that I don't think I could ever do.
Me either, no doubt.
Okay.
I've had 2 broken hands, and I couldn't do anything at all, let alone play football.
You're writing with a pencil like this. Yeah, in school, I totally get it. Maybe you're making soup, right? You can make soup. You could be a great sous chef. Okay, my number 2. Anytime I get the chance to talk about the 2019 Stanley Cup Final, I'm going to take it. And Zdeno Chara's decision to play with a broken jaw is remembered as one of the toughest moments in hockey history. The longtime captain suffered multiple facial fractures in Game 4 after being struck by that deflected puck. And the injury was serious enough to require surgery with plates, screws, and wiring to stabilize his jaw. Remarkably, he returned to the ice less than 72 hours later for Game 5. He was unable to speak, he wore a full face shield, and he even answered media questions in writing before the game. When he stepped onto the ice at TD Garden, the crowd delivered a massive ovation, recognizing what he was putting his body through. And despite the pain, Chara still logged significant minutes played his physical hockey game, and all I have to say is that is crazy toughness.
Those are outrageous notes, and that's hockey player toughness, and it's just unbelievable what they go through. When you think about Matthew Tkachuk playing in the Four Nations with the torn adductor muscle, and they had to have surgery and miss the rest of the season, but he was playing with the injury for multiple games. It's just unbelievable what hockey players go through. All right, my number one. Tiger Woods played on a broken leg and with a torn ACL in 2008 at the U.S. Open at Torrey Pines. Tiger went in being banged up, and haters thought he was putting on a show when he would collapse in pain as he was playing the weekend. Even in his condition, Tiger was able to force an 18-hole playoff with Rocky Mediate the next day. Tiger would miss a winning putt, but he would also have the opportunity to see Mediate miss his, and Tiger would win his third U.S. Open. There's Mediate missing his, and Tiger wins his third U.S. Open. The next day, we would find out that Tiger Woods won while playing on a torn ACL and 2 stress fractures in his left tibia. He aggravated the injuries on the second day when his foot slipped on a concrete cart path, but he pushed through to defeat Mediate in an 18-hole playoff on Monday.
And he still celebrated like he was 100%. That is fantastic. You don't need your legs to golf or anything.
No, unbelievable. That's how great he was.
Okay, my number one here. When I'm sick with a cold, Randy, the world is ending. It's ending. But when MJ has the flu, it's like when I feel my best, apparently. Michael Jordan's flu game in Game 5 of the '97 NBA Finals not only was dominant, but is the #1 greatest display of toughness in sports in my mind, because he was severely ill, dealing with extreme dehydration and exhaustion that left him barely able to stand earlier in the day. That forced him to miss the team shoot-around. But despite all of that, he played 44 grueling minutes and carried his team in scoring 38 points, along with some key defensive plays in the tight 90-88 win. Throughout the game, he was visibly drained, too, frequently bent over in exhaustion during stoppages, yet still delivering clutch baskets. Look at this. Scottie Pippen holding him up in moments late in that basketball game, but him playing helped seal the victory, and it was just a lasting image, remembering Michael's toughness during the '97 finals.
Unbelievable. And he blames the pizza delivery man the night before.
Yeah, of course, it was that guy.
But the flu game, whatever it was absolutely unbelievable. And we didn't do Bob Gibson, but he definitely deserves honorable mention, as tough as it gets. And baseball Jesus, Chris Carpenter, who had a part of his rib, had his whole rib removed and came back and pitched very well after that as well. That is the list here on The Fight. And next up, we're going to put together a parlay. It's coming your way here on Matrix Midwest. It's time now for Take It or Leave It. And as I mentioned earlier in the show, Scottie Scheffler finished at 2 under in 14th place at the PGA Championship. Hasn't won since his first tournament of the year, the American Express, back in January. So, Andrew, take it or leave it. Golf fans should be concerned about Scottie Scheffler. I
am going to leave it. He's still Scottie Scheffler for a reason. He's still the guy you point to every single tournament as he's the favorite. It's too early right now for me to say I'm concerned about him.
There's the problem. He's the favorite, and he keeps finishing second or worse. Oh, no! Yeah, we're concerned about Scottie. We should be.
Imagine winning so much that you lose for like a
not only lose, but you finish second.
Yeah, you finish second.
You beat 100 other golfers. You lose to one guy, and we're concerned about you.
Oh,
sorry, Scottie. You put the pressure on yourself.
It's good. It's a good position to be in, I guess, if you're Scottie Scheffler. Okay. The Seattle Mariners just promoted top prospect Colt Emerson on Sunday and placed all-star utility man Brendan Donovan on the 10-day IL with a left groin muscle strain. It's the second time this season already Donnie has missed time. Take it or leave it. The Cardinals sent him off at the right time as far as the return goes.
No doubt about it, because Sange is going to be great for the Cardinals. And Donnie, number one, where was he going to play here? Gorman, as Stephen Carey mentioned, is improving. You've got a second baseman that's pretty good. Maybe left field for Donovan. But no, that was the right move for the Cardinals to make, and he put so much into it. He worked so hard that eventually that is going to catch up to him. So I'm with you. I think that the Cardinals got rid of him at just the right time.
Well, and you have to think, too, with him getting injured now. He wasn't injured last season to the point where anybody was worried about his status. Who knows what the return would be if the Cardinals kept him this year and tried to move him, whether at the deadline or in the offseason.
And one thing, when Brendan Donovan plays, he's great.
Yeah, he's amazing.
So he'll be back with Seattle, and he'll be a big part of what they do. But, yeah, for where the Cardinals are and where Brendan is in his career, I think the trade was a good
sense.
thing.
It made complete sense.
All right, now it's time for story time with Uncle Randy. And Andrew's going to spin the wheel. We're going to come up with a decade from my sports fandom. And then we're going to come up with a sport, and I will come up with a little story for you. And we are going to be talking about the 1980s. There it is. So 80s sports for you. And then let's see what sport we get.
There's some good baseball in the 80s.
One of the four bigs, it's going to be 1980s basketball. Okay, let's go back 1980. Oh, you know what we're going to do?
Tell me.
At this time of year? We're going to go back to, I believe, 1986 and the Memorial Day Massacre.
Okay.
Memorial Day Massacre took place between the Lakers and the Celtics. And the Lakers went into Boston, 1986, game one of the finals, and they drilled them. They beat them by 40. It was one of the biggest blowouts in NBA Finals history, and it was dubbed the Memorial Day Massacre. And everybody thought, oh, the Lakers have this thing, they're going to romp to the championship. But the Celtics come back, and at that time, it was not 2-2-1-1-1. Or it might have been a 2-2-1-1-1 rather than a 3-2-3. And the Celtics came back and they were able to beat the Lakers on the Lakers' home floor to win the championship after losing the Memorial Day Massacre.
I know you said everybody thought that the Lakers were just going to take it from there. Give me a little insight into the media coverage after losing by 40.
The Lakers were anointed because it was Showtime. It was Magic, it was Worthy, it was Kareem, it was all those guys. Not that they were going against a bad Celtics team. They had McHale and Bird, of course, and DJ, a guy named Scott Wegman. That was a really good Celtics team, but I think people didn't have an appreciation for the grit. You know, we were talking about toughness, the grit and toughness of the Celtics at that time. Casey Jones was their coach, and they were really gritty, really tough. And I don't think the Lakers were prepared to deal with that for 7 games.
What a bounce back.
Yeah.
Man, after getting embarrassed.
Yeah.
What a bounce back.
The Memorial Day Massacre. I believe it was 40 years ago.
Yeah, great timing.
Yeah. So that was 1980s basketball for you. There's story time with Uncle Randy right here on The Fight.
I am for that.
So that's fun. That's this date in sports. Or that's story time with Uncle Randy. Now, remember, Mark McGwire had a few good years here. 97 when he came over, 98, 99, and then 2000. On this date in 1999, in the year that Mark McGwire only hit 65 home runs, he hit 3 home runs and had a career-high 7 RBIs, leading the Cardinals to win over the Phillies 7-2 at Veterans Stadium. And I was telling you earlier, when McGwire was here, the Cardinals used to be on national TV all the time, and they would make national TV baseball games. This happened on a Fox Thursday night game that they made specifically because McGwire was playing, and Kurt Schilling allowed 2 of the home runs, Wayne Gomes allowed another one, and McGwire had a career-high 7 RBIs in that game. He drove in every Cardinal run in a 7-2 win over Philadelphia.
That's pretty impressive. Now, thinking Mark McGwire, for whatever reason, and you might know this, and it might just be in the 90s or 1999 here that he had his career high, but did that stay his career high? 7 in one game?
Yeah, he never did have more than 7.
That amazes me. A guy like him with his power and what he can do, 3 home runs in one game only gets him to 7. What he can do in another game, just say. It amazes me that he wasn't able to get more than 7 in a game.
And that game on this date in 1999 was the 5th time that he'd hit 3 home runs in a game and never eclipsed 7 RBIs.
That's crazy.
Yep. And then 2 years later, he's out of baseball because he hit 32 home runs.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
Yeah. So in 99, then he has another decent year in 2000, then 2001, he's gone.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. If it were he played another 10 years, then my point probably would make more sense. But yeah, only playing a couple more seasons of baseball. All right, Mark. Rank in 7. 7's awesome.
And by the way, those home runs that night moved McGwire past Mickey Mantle into 8th place on the all-time career home run list with number 539.
Yeah, good for you, Mark.
So, and McGwire, by the way, if it wasn't for the steroid thing, I believe he would be an easy Hall of Famer. He is 11th all-time in on-base and I think 15th all-time in on-base plus slugging percentage. And OPS is the biggest stat we have going for the analytics crowd now. To be top 15 all-time in that category is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it still blows my mind that anybody wants to keep those players in the steroids era out of the Hall of Fame. It's ridiculous to me. Those guys brought fans back to baseball.
Not only that, but it was a level playing field. Did they say that they unleveled the playing field? Most of the players were using performance enhancers.
Great players, at least.
And if we're going to say that McGuire doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, or Bonds, or Clemens, or Rafael Palmeiro, who, by the way, did get popped and was suspended for it, but how can you not suspend or suspect some of the people that are already in the Hall of Fame?
Right. Yeah. Go back.
Played to their mid-40s or had that look. They just got bigger.
Right.
I don't know how you can say, well, those guys didn't use. They deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. It's pretty crazy. All right, we have a lot of cool things here on Matrix Midwest. We have Fastball every day. It's a 1-hour condensed version of the previous day's Cardinal game that appeared on Cardinals TV, and you can see it at noon and again at 4 o'clock every day after a Cardinal game here on Matrix Midwest. By the way, we've got the real Cardinal game on Friday. On May 22nd at 5:30 p.m., the Cardinals will be at Cincinnati, and the Cardinals will take on the Reds. And then, of course, with that game, even still on Saturday, we will have Fastball for you the next day.
And it's a battle of the central favorites for Rookie of the Year. Sal Stewart, JJ Weatherhold on the Cardinals side.
JJ's going to win. Hey, don't forget to tell your friends that you see the fight with Character and Company every day at 5 and 10 p.m. and then re-aired at 7 the next morning. And you can always catch us on the Matrix Midwest app. And if you'd like to participate in the fight, we'd love to hear from you. You always come up to me and say, hey, I want to take you on in the fight. Now's your chance. Email us at thefight@matrixmidwest.com or just use the drop-down menu at matrixmidwest.com and sign up. Great job as always by you, sir.
Great job by you.
Oh, thank you. And thanks to Stephen Carey for joining us. Thanks to our outstanding director, Tyler Klaus. For Andrew, I'm Randy, and thanks so much for being a part of the show. We'll see you next time here on The Fight. So long, everyone.